Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire, and I am here with my brother Matty. What's up, Matty?
Yo, what up? Looking forward to getting into it.
And Justin H2O Desai. What's up, All
You
Stars?
you threw me off by introducing Matty first. I didn't know what to do. I was like,
Yeah, I
what's
went from the
happening?
bottom up, started at the bottom, and now we're here. We're going to talk
Now we're
about
here.
the Set 2 leaders. This video is we're going to give academic grades to the Set 2 leaders, A, B, C, D, F, and
I got my red grading pen
oh,
right
nice.
here.
Yeah, I got.
You'll also see our teaching styles. Some of us will be harder graders. Some of us, hey, if you show up and put in a good effort, you will pass.
Absolutely.
I wonder which one that will be.
And the full set's
You'd
not
be
out, so
surprised.
we might even be offering some extensions on grades.
No, but all the
Ooh.
leaders are out, which is what we've been waiting for before we should do this with the release of Jabba today. And then the only other thing that I want to make clear is that this is for constructed Premiere format. We're going to talk about these leaders as pre-release leaders separately on our podcast this week, and then have Steve on at some point to do this again for draft after we've gotten some drafting in. So keep an eye out for that podcast. Keep an eye out for some pre-release content coming once we get our press kit from FFG, which we're getting. And I actually got a package from MetalFab Tokens today, so shout out to MetalFab Tokens. I have no idea what's in it, but I'm excited to see. So, all right, let's kick it off with the blue leaders. And I think there's going to be some interesting grades in this one. But where do we want to start? Who has a feeling about... Actually, you know what? Let's start with Finn.
Oh, interesting. I thought we were gonna go clockwise, but Finn.
I think we should just start out at like where I think is the worst. Like,
Okay.
I'm, you know, I don't fail my students generally. I'll give them like a 65, but this guy is like he earned a 55, but I'm gonna give him a 65 because I'm not trying
See,
to make him
that's
go to summer school.
yeah, that's kind of where my line came in. Yeah, Finn, man, had a high hopes. Good early or deploy unit, a 4.6 for 5 deployment could have been great, but yeah, gotta give you a D. I'll give you a D plus. I'm a little more lenient than my brother. I'm sure someone will find something cool. But really, the coolest thing I could think of is like giving something 2 experience tokens and turning one into a shield. Maybe some
Yeah, that's what Rose
recursion.
does. So like, there's an engine there. If the engine gets
Yeah.
created, like maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there could be something that churns the engine, but I'm not seeing it with how the actions work in the game and kind of, you know, how you want your cards to play. Like, I don't want a bunch of moment of pieces.
Justin, you're
No,
shaking your
straight
head. Is Finn going to
straight
summer?
F.
Yeah, summer school.
Oh,
He
see,
I don't know.
send
He's not going to summer school.
Staying back.
He's repeating the grade.
Oh, you won't
He
give him
is
the
so bad.
55 to go to summer school?
Not
Brutal.
even allowed him to go to summer school. No excuses. We've had these conversations all year, and you're not cutting it.
You should have
Wait,
emailed
so
me last
you,
week asking what can I do to improve my grade. You need to
yeah.
send that email in October.
Yeah, you
So
turned
there's a
in one
threshold.
assignment all year. It's Rose, and she was a D minus assignment. So yeah,
I
it's just
love that.
it's not working out. You might want to, your parents pay a lot of money to send you here, so you should maybe think about trying a different school.
So is there a threshold? You need a certain grade to even make it to summer school?
In Worcester, yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's like that in
Wow,
every district,
wow,
but
that's
in
epic.
Boston
Yeah.
it was a 50 for a long time.
So you know what? While he might not make it in Premiere, there's always twin sons, or we can call it Finn sons for him. That's
Finn
probably the only
sons.
time he's getting played.
Yeah, and like no one's checking, like no one checks your grades. No one's like, let me add up all the grades that you just did. So you just do whatever at the end of the year, basically. All right, let's stay in hero. We'll go with Ray. Restore 3, 6 drop, 2 6 on attack. Give an experience token to a unit with 2 or less power, and then her flip. I should have had both sides, but I had to do this quick. She can also buff guys who have 2 or less power by giving them an experience token for 1. So when she flips, she restores 3 and can buff herself into a 3/7. So she's pretty strong. I think she's decent. I think that we've already seen some mono blue strategies like erupt around her. So I'm gonna say like she's a solid B minus, but mainly carried by her color in the group projects that have been done.
Right. Yeah. Things like going mono blue with, Queel and some of those draw engines kind of make her a little better, right? And yeah, I mean, she's a B. She's got a good flip when you get her out there with Restore 3. That can be really powerful. You have like a silver bullet against the aggro decks, but I mean, I don't see how mono blue is going to play into some of the yellow villain stuff we've seen. And just feels like if you want to dip into another color, you're making like kind of a less powerful turret deck to me. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think like now that we're in set 2 and like there's just powerful decks that are being established, like metas are a little bit more defined. Like you're gonna like need to beat like a Boba deck. You're gonna need to beat a Sabine deck. Like you're gonna have to beat these villain control decks like Ray. Like put an experience token on something. Well, now you're gonna get bounced by the yellow decks, and like just doesn't line up in the meta well. Like if this was in set 1, I'd probably have her higher. I think
yeah,
she's a C. I just don't see how you win that many games with her. I think there's like some neat things you can do, and like you can maybe you beat Sabine because you've got all this restore and you've got all these shields. But then like how are you ever gonna beat like the villain control decks
yep.
or even like the tempo-y decks like the yellow Bobas or even green Boba. Not that every leader is gonna beat the top decks, but like it just would seem so defeating with this leader. Like you've got some cool interactions, but then it's just not enough.
Yeah, I think a lot of that will depend on like, is it all early game or can she have a longer, a longer late game, and that's not just based around her. But the restore 3 and all the restore that you can put in this could like obviously is going to give aggro problems. So like,
Yep.
is that a sideboard plan? And or is like the meta just completely aggro one weekend and you're like, all right, time for Ray to show up. That's like what the game's
Silver
all about.
bullet.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's like the
Mhm.
biggest thing with finding these leaders is like, yeah, you don't need to play them in every event, but knowing where they apply and like, you know, not to go off a tangent like I normally do, but like a deck like Green Palp is going to get run over by Sabines, but if you're running into the blue villain control decks, you play it, you win. So, keep an eye out for Ray for the time when aggro gets out of control in your local or at a big event and you play the mono blue and you restore lights out and you take one. But yeah, every day, not seeing it.
All right, Gar Saxon, 6-drop, Imperial Mandalorian official, villain leader. Each friendly upgrade unit gets +1/+0. That's his leader side, and then it adds when defeated. You may return an upgrade that was attached to this unit to its owner's hand. So that works on every unit who it gets defeated with an upgrade on it. And Matt, you've played some Gar. What do you think of Gar? What's your grade for Gar?
Yeah, I'm gonna give him like a B plus. I think that he's gonna be really good with all of the shields and upgrades available, the cheap ones. Pairing them with yellow, which seems to be a busted color. Shout out to Mike's video. You're able to play cheap, things like snapshot reflexes and the blaster. You have even more, I think, yellow ships coming out with cheap upgrades and kind of the slipperiness to them. So you can play this really cool tempo deck where your shielded guys are already buffed up, and then if the shield falls off, you're usually throwing some kind of small action economy oriented upgrade on them to keep pushing through. So yeah, I think he's like a B plus. I think we're gonna see that like some of the set 1 tempo leaders are just gonna reign supreme. But there's a lot of potential here, and maybe the rest of the set rounds them out. But any innate like ability like that
Yeah,
is good.
is nice.
I'd say B. I think he's for those same reasons that Matt said. You see that strategy is a bit more fringe with like relying on like obviously yellow you come in with like all those shields. But with the power level just getting continuously up, I'd say B. But I think like him working with like 7 Fleet Defender and even a card like Bib Fortuna, like all of a sudden Bib's like a 2/3, and like that's like
Yeah,
really
you can use them only
solid,
when you
right? And
need
like
to.
Crafty
Yeah.
Small Girl, there's a 3/2, like and you've also just still got the shields too. Like shields are really powerful. So now
Yeah.
you're like turning all your shields into +1/+0 is pretty neat. And then like actually playing some upgrades themselves, like the blaster. We all know that card is very
Card's busted.
powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's got some strong synergies. I actually sort of view him a bit almost like a villain turret, a little bit like a very powerful sort of sideways to your general plan. Um, so yeah, I like him a lot. But I think solid B.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the Imperial package plays with him, because you can go full Imperial. They also released
Mhm.
today an Imperial 5-drop 4/4 shielded that gets Sentinel when
Mhm.
it's upgraded,
Mhm.
which is good with him and is also an Imperial Mandalorian. So I could see that being good. I'm gonna give him a B minus just because like I gotta see it. I mean, I know when I played against you, Matt, like the deck seemed really strong, but when I was trying to pilot it, wasn't really clicking for me as well. So I see the potential, but I wanna try and figure it out first. All right, let's
Feels
move
like
on.
you got to
Yeah.
play it like just real quick. You got to play it almost like Yellow Boba in like you are just throwing
Mhm.
pumps at their face and then like using
Yeah.
Acid Sanctuary to like tempo them and get your guys' shields back. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
like it.
that
And I think you
five
have a
drop's
handle on
great,
it.
Mike. That 5-drop's great with the shield.
Yeah, it's
Comes
a
in with a
digital honor
shield, and
guards,
then
but like
yeah,
better.
it's just really strong.
Yeah, and honestly, like even though yellow's really strong, like now mono blue has like basically an entire shielded curve from 2 to 7. So, like you can't like you there is room for it to be not yellow as well. All right, Kira, 5-drop, 0/8 with grit. When deployed, heal all damage from each unit, then deal damage to each unit equal to half its remaining HP rounded down. Her other side, she can pay 1 to deal half the damage to a unit and give it a shield. So she can shield your units, and when she comes out, she can just start killing things. And Justin, I know you played against this the other day. What did you think of the Kira from the other side of the table?
I think she's hands down an A. I think probably the best leader in the set. I think at very first time I saw her spoil a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, this card not very good. It's like a 4/4 basically, and doesn't do a lot much. But I would say the two things that stand out about her are the ability to turn a 1/4, which blue black has really good 1/4s, especially the ones with grit.
Yep.
But even the ones without grit into shielded now is huge, and then the ones with grit, you're turning them into 3/4s, or really, I guess 3/2s with a shield.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Which is huge, and then you're able to take great actions, and then like you're able to heal those guys when you flip her, and then like they can get more shield, kind of like steamroll it, and even even like your big like after she dies, like you're able to shield cards like your big units too. It's not capped, so that's a great thing. And the other thing is that she trades with all the heroes, or all the opposing leaders,
all the
if
leaders.
they're out.
Yeah, when you realize you just can't flip your leader into Kira, it's really really rough. The only leaders
she
who
does
survive against her are Palp and Jabba.
Yep.
I think.
And she gets out of
because
hand.
Vader will take 4, and then she can hit him for 4.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
And then the other thing I would say is like people are going to view her as like a 4/4, but like she's not totally a 4/4 because like her power can still go up with the grit beyond like the 4. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So like first time I was like, wait, why is she 7? Like that makes no sense. She's a 4/4, and then you're like, wait a second, no, she's a 7/1.
She'd
So
be
that
7/1, and then you barrage or whatever. Yeah.
So like when she knocks off like a cheaper unit after the flip, which she probably will, like just like random 2 or 3 drop, then all of a sudden like you have to claim and you also have to like kill her and trade it. So it steamrolls, and obviously like dies to some removal, but just really powerful.
Yeah. The one thing before, and Mike has more experience probably playing against or maybe with this than I do, but the one thing that really keys me on, and I'll give it like an A minus just because I need to play with it more, but it's probably just an A, is like her when deployed hits everything on the field.
Yeah.
So like when you flip Iden, like you still have to do 6 damage. She's already done like a ton of damage if they're swarming you, to the point where if you pair it with barrage, it's just like picking them off. You know what I mean? Or even if you wanted to try some kind of red version, you still have things like bombing run. You know what I mean? So like you could hit the air and then clean them up or something. Like she's got a lot of application. Anything that affects the entire board on flip is pretty busted. So yeah, that I just talked myself into an A.
Yeah, I give her an A. We're at 14 minutes, so we're gonna have to fly through if we're gonna meet Justin's out time. So move on to red. We got Boss, Kylo, Han, and Bo-Katan. So Justin said he thinks Kira is probably the best rare in the leader in the set. But I'm going to say that my number one hero in the set is probably going to be Han Solo. I think he's really good, even just playing against him a couple times last night. Seeing all the things that he can do, I am giving Han Solo an A+. He's my number one out the gate because his text is universal. It doesn't cost anything, and like it just pushes your whole deck to be better. You know, Kira you have to do things to sort of like build around her or play around her to make things work. Han Solo is just always going to work. You're always going to be benefited by playing like 8 drops for 7 or 7 drops for 6 or 6 drops for 5. That's always going to be a benefit with very little drawback.
Yeah, I think B+, but I did speak to Han and he asked me to review his grades to see if I can get him up to an A-. So I need to see a few more. I need to review his work a little bit more. But yeah, I think like at first glance, you're like, oh, I can play all these like mid cards, like 3-drops, like on turn 2, but then you realize that's not that good. But then once you kind of locate, like, wait a second, you can pair him with like these really expensive cards and like just sort of ram them down. It's sort of a weird interaction for Han. Doesn't seem super thematic that he's like able to play a Great Dragon or whatever, or like a
Yeah.
home one early.
Yeah.
But like, those cards seem really interesting, like just bringing out really big unit faster, and then just the fact that like there's nothing that can really stop him from doing it unless they kill him the one turn he dies if they do that first action.
Yeah.
You can always you're basically says your units cost 1 less, and then the 2 damage, but the top end units are so big anyway.
Yeah, you're doing things
that,
like
like-
dropping home 1 and getting another 3-drop out or whatever, or like
That
we
you
did this
probably
thing
already
yesterday,
cheated
he
out
played-
earlier.
Yeah, he cheated out home 1 and then brought back Poe because he had so many resources.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
And like
Yeah.
you can just keep playing as these units continue to get like bigger and bigger. He does seem good. So
The one thing I'll say about thematically is that he makes shit happen. Like that's Han Solo. He makes things happen.
Yeah.
Matt, you get a grade for this guy?
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna give him a an A minus. I think there's a lot there. I love the idea of the ramp. I also think you can go super low to the ground, which is cool. Yeah.
All right.
We'll see how the chips fall.
Let's move on to Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan cries, on attack, deal 1 damage to a unit. If you attacked with another Mandalorian unit this phase, you may deal damage to it. And I think her other side is, actually I have it right here. It's, oh, never mind, it's not loading. But you just tap her. If you attacked with a Mandalorian this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. So
I think she's pretty good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
have you played with her at all yet?
So I played against her. First, I feel like I dismissed her because I was like, oh, like clunky unit cost 6, like not gonna come out. Like, why would I ever play this over Sabine? But like, the pings really do add up, and you're able to sort of be like a little bit lopsided. And like the Mandalorian sub theme has some powerful interactions combined with blue, combined with some other things.
Yeah.
So you're able to like get like these sort of aggressive units. Sometimes they're shielded. It's really hard to play around. So there's going to be some unique builds of her coming out. I do think she's pinched in the meta a bit against like some of these control decks being so oppressive. But I would say solid B, maybe B minus. But I think certainly something to explore.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little lower, although I do like the potential. One of the things that I learned, like, playing some control decks last night was that, like, I really wanted units on the board to do the controlling. That's sort of like why blue-green control is probably, like, you know, the soft control, as they say, is so good. And I could see that being something here with, like, you're using your board and her ability to sort of, like, clear out the ground. So I'm going to give her a C+, but I'm happy to see what she's got cooking.
The one thing is obviously, like, all that you're going to have access to any color that you want, but just her being base in red like gives you access to all the discard too. So like obviously like Ray would have to like lean into red to like get that ability. But, like she's got it built in. Like you can play, you know, K2 automatically. You can play the tons of red discard. So like if you're playing against control, you can really lean into that. So
yeah, I played her a bit before Darksaber came out, and I think that the ping, as Justin said, adds up. And her flip turn, she can really take back the board. So as like a mid-range anti-aggro deck with access to red in the sideboard against control is really promising. I still think she's probably going to have trouble with the tempo, but I'll give her a solid B. I really liked playing her, and I think the potential's there. We'll see what the rest of the set brings in Mando to see if it can push her up a little more.
All right, next up is Bosk, who's a 5-drop, 5-flip leader. His flip side is deal 1 damage to a unit with bounty. You may give it +1/+0 for this phase, so you know, you can ping the people you put bounties on, and then you can kind of buff your guys that have bounties, or if you want. And then when he's flipped, he's a 4/6 Underworld Bounty Hunter. You may collect a bounty twice, essentially, once per round. I was really high on this guy originally. I probably would have like given him an A-, but after seeing the way you kind of have to like construct your deck and how bounties like aren't quite as good as I was hoping that would be, probably just giving him a B+. I think there is room for like if bounties are good and it can kind of like the list can get solved, that I really think that ping ability is strong, and like the double collecting bounties can be really strong. But like trying to set up the ramp to double ramp or whatever and then play a late game, it just didn't work with him. So I think like a little back to the drawing board for me. But I'm gonna give him a B+ and hope that I can solve like maybe a more aggro version that seeks to double bounty on the guild target.
yeah, I'm a B- C+ for pretty much all the same reasons. I was really excited at first, but like the bounties are just always
It's more of an indictment against bounties than Bosk, honestly,
if
because
bounties
like
are
the
good,
cards
great.
themselves just feel kind of bad, but the units that give bounties don't feel as bad. With the exception of like double bountying that cheap bounty that like brings like is like a little mini Vader kind of thing is kind of disgusting. So I'm gonna give him a B+ for his potential. I still think there's some broken things you can do with like blue red control to like gain a majillion life and stuff like that. But just the value that we're seeing out of the bounty cards themselves are a little lackluster. So more on the bounties, less on the boss.
Yeah.
All right, then Kylo. I know this is one of Justin's favorites. 4-drop, 5/4 gets -1/-0 for each card in your hand. But when he's flipped, he has a free action. Discard a card from your hand. Give a unit +2/+0 for the phase. So we've already started to experiment some with like playing the untappers with punishing 1 and Toro to make that +2 become a +4. What do you give Kylo, Justin? This is your boy.
So Kylo's the student that you like know has this amazing potential, and you're like, man, like, why are you doing this, man? Why didn't you turn in your assignment?
work so
like,
hard,
you're so
stay after
smart,
school.
you're so brilliant, and then you do this. So I love Kylo. I just think like there's a few matchups where he just like can't win. There's like he's one of the few decks that can win on like turn 3, given the right like the perfect hand, and like feels so good when he's rolling, and you're like, oh my god, we broke it. Like, this guy's amazing. But then there's just like sometimes you just can't beat 2 removal spells, and like that's not going to cut it without the ability to like take you home, like the way Sabine does with burn. Like Sabine's got 4 cards built in. And yes, there's new burn cards, but like it just doesn't interact well. And he's kind of trying to do a little bit too much. Like he's trying to fill your graveyard with maybe like the green cards, but then he's trying to pump, but then like pumping a unit and then it just dying, you're down a card. So like
Right.
there's some matchups you just really don't want to see. And I haven't been able to figure out like sort of a way to embrace those matchups with like a different plan while still being true to like the blitz plan that's had some success in testing. So I would say solid B.
Yeah, have you tried out
based
the
on the
Phantom
potential.
yet with him?
Yeah, I have, and then your opponent plays a TIE fighter, and it's just a little bit rough.
Got to bust out those smuggling compartments. Got to buff that guy up.
Dude, maybe.
All right, I'm giving Kylo a B+. I still think like just coming out on 4 potential 5 attack is just too strong. And like, if you can go wide, and like I think there are some ways to go wide, that he could be really good.
B for me. I think he can go really fast, but I've also played games against him where you're kind of like, what does this guy do?
Yep.
Yeah,
So.
it definitely feels like that, especially if you can't empty
Yeah.
your hand. It feels really bad.
But the potential, I like Justin's take on like the kid that has potential. I agree with that.
All right, yellow, the unequivocal best color. Let's start with I don't know. Where do you want to
Let's
start?
just fail Fennec right away.
All right, you
Let's
want to
just
fail?
get that.
Like,
Yeah.
give her the Finn treatment, bottom left, fail. Yeah, she's a saboteur.
yeah.
She gives everyone on your team ambush. And then when she's flipped, play a unit that costs 4 or less from your hand, give it ambush for this phase. Actually, I think she only gives 4 or less, even on the flip side.
Yeah, both sides, 4 or less.
5-drop,
I'd say
4/4 Underworld.
B+, C- for me. Just not going to do enough. And the ambush is a great mechanic. That's why it's not a straight F. Like Finn just literally does nothing.
Yeah, her
she
ability
at
costs
least
1 too.
has
She has to on her flip side, like on her leader side, she has to pay 1 to give the ambush to.
Yeah. So the fact that you have to discount your own ambushes, and that I wish it
And,
wasn't
and
4
that she's in
or
yellow
less.
that has a ton of ambush. I feel like already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Right.
So I guess it's like you're pairing her. I don't know. I'm giving her a D. She took the class pass or fail. She passed. And that's about all I got to say about Fennec.
It's a P.
Yeah, she's got Sab, which is like halfway decent, and you are able to do things like combo stack shields with her like by triggering ambush, like ordering it or whatever. So I think there's room for her to be better. I think she's gonna be really good in draft and sealed. So
Yeah.
I think there's room, but yeah, for constructed premiere, I think she never hits the table. She's probably an F. All right, let's go to Cad Bane, who he's got a triggered ability. When you play an Underworld card, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, an opponent chooses a unit they control, deal 1 damage to it. Then he flips on 6 resources. He's got Raid 2, so he's a 2/8 that attacks for 4. And then that same ability, only now he's dealing 2 damage to a unit. After some light play with Cad, I just don't see him competing the Boba spot. I think like there are some things you can do by like McClunkying and Lady Proxima to sort of like combo off. I just don't know that you ever have enough cards or enough card draw at the current stage of this game to like do it consistently. So I'm gonna give him a C
Yep.
plus. I'm not like really excited about him. I'd
So-
certainly rather just be playing Boba Fett.
Cad is kind of like the head of like the math club that you have at your school, who you like take to a competition. You think he's brilliant. You're like, this guy's going to MIT. Then you're like chaperoning the math club, and then you get to the site, and you see the other leaders at different schools, aka the Boba Fetts.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh boy, Cad, we're gonna, yeah, you're like really good at multiplication, but like they're doing some other math here.
Yeah, they're doing calculus.
Yeah, I do think it's higher than a C plus, just
Yeah, I
because I think the pure power level of him is good and like yellow and like has the ability. I think B plus, but I think like the fact that the opportunity, if you build in the opportunity cost of not playing Boba, it's like a D
Pretty
minus.
high.
I mean, I just think Boba is like still really far ahead of this guy.
I mean, his 2 damage and like even the 1 damage when he's not flipped is like exactly why we're not super excited about shock, right, or whatever that's called. 2 damage in this game isn't cutting it. If 2 damage was
No.
cutting it, everyone would just be playing Death Trooper. But it's just not cutting.
Well, it is free.
Pro units that are
You
X.
could- yeah,
It's
I
free,
think you can,
but you have to
I think
build your
with-
deck with Underworld guys that like you may or may not want to be doing.
Yeah, yellow has some good underworld. I think with the bounty hunter. I don't think Lady Proxima is it. But I like the idea if you want to play yellow red, he gives you a really quick way to get ahead on the board.
Yeah, that's
You
a
can do
neat
some
thing.
cool stuff there. Where like maybe if that's your lean, that's better than the yellow red Boba deck.
Yeah, you can like
But, I mean,
always kill something
Yeah.
turn 1 if you want to with Tarkin Town to like always have a unit where they don't. So like, but I'm just not sure that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm playing capture, I'm still probably playing Boba Fett and Boba Fett's armor, and like then they're just never killing him. And I agree.
Mhm.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
give him like he's a triggered ability, right?
Yeah, he does
He's
all
got a
the
decent
things you
deploy.
want. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
gonna give him
Justin's-
like a B. Yeah, Justin's is perfect.
Justin's analogy is
plus.
great. But yeah, can shout out the Tarkin Town start is super busted. We saw that.
Mhm.
I mean, Chrono was doing that with ISB agent and working so
Yeah.
hard to do it, and now you can do the same thing with CAD for free.
And he's a solid finisher, like 4-8, 4-8. Like attack before. Like that's
Yeah.
that's pretty reasonable.
He's in the color scheme that would play like Blaster and stuff too. I mean, he's
Right.
someone will make a good CAD deck. Whether or not it will push into everything else remains to be seen.
Yeah,
But
I
there's
get it.
definitely potential.
All right, Afra. So Afra, when she's not flipped, she discards a card from the top of your deck at the start of every regroup phase. And when she flips, if there are 5 or more different costs among cards in your discard pile, get +3/+0. And then when she deploys, she takes 3 cards in your discard pile with different names. So you get 1 back. So she flips as a 2/5 with the potential to be a 5/5. I played my first games with her last night, and I thought it was really great. I want to create these endgame states with her, and like the self mill isn't quite fast enough, but like the dealing with aggro and like getting one of the 3 important cards you just played to like stabilize is really, really good. And then like it was so easy for me to get to her to be a 5/5 that like I almost wanted to have been playing an aggro deck and not a control deck. So like I think there's a really interesting mid-range game
That's
with her
interesting.
where like if I knew my whole deck was just built towards attacking his base, I felt like I could have been playing a
Like
completely
maybe you're
different game
getting pumps back and not removal back.
Yeah,
Like, maybe
you
you're getting surprise
Right.
strikes and stuff back.
Yeah, it could be something like
a
that too.
cunning deck.
Because like if your options are surprise strike, blaster, and snapshot, like you're happy to get any of those, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think she's an A minus, but I also think that maybe we need to send her, like, talk to her family to like get her to like a special school, like gifted and talented, because she's thinking about things in a different way than everyone else. I think
love
she
that
easily could be
analogy,
the best one. Like he draws a card.
She does
Which is
stuff that
cool.
no one else does, and
I was gonna-
the
yeah.
auto card advantage
Milling
on your
thing.
flip turn is really great. So yeah, I had a similar analogy, just like give her a B plus, but but send her home with some extra work, and if she can get it done, then she can absolutely raise that grade.
It really is like what tools she gets supplied. Like if there are things that let you loot her or more things that let you interact with your graveyard,
Mhm.
Yeah, if I could
Then,
self
yeah,
mill
then
myself
she's an A
faster, I
plus.
would have felt great last night.
yeah. If
Yeah.
you can self mill, if you can recur, so like
Yeah, bounty hunter crew.
the
great for that.
potential is there. I'm gonna go ahead and say she's just a flat A, and it's on the teachers, aka it's on the rest of the set, the 30 cards in the next set to make it work.
All right.
She's
Yeah, I
got
think-
it.
I
She's
think
got the
she's
potential. It's
Alright.
just whether they put cards around her. That's some innate power is insane.
All right, on to Lando, 4 cost. He lets you play a card with Smuggle for 2 less. The only thing is you have to defeat a resource afterwards, so you go down a resource when you do it. This is the same on both sides. I have played a lot of Lando. I think like just flipping on 4 is really, really good. The games where I am able to drop the new Falcon or Azori Bliss on his flip turn have been absolutely busted. The rest of the time when I can't do that, it's felt just like a little short of where I'd like aggro to be. But he's great at carrying a blaster, and you can really go wide with him and dump your hand and not care about the resources. So I think if the meta's right and that aggro blitz can be good, that this guy is a straight up A+. But for now, I'm gonna say he's a B+.
Yeah, I have him at B+, A-, just because like super huge potential. Comes out on 4. A lot of the efforts I've been putting in for Kylo might just be better suited here. Of like, you can go aggro with him. You can also get like card advantage. The Falcon thing is pretty real. Be able to get that out that early.
That's
Now you have Cassian now, right? Cassian will cost
Cassian's great,
3
and there's going to be a few more like smuggle cards I'm sure coming out in the last groups. Like having to look at all of them. He came out like, and then they like the week later they dropped that like anti-smuggle 2-drop.
And that's the
and everyone
thing.
kind of like lost energy on him, but like, that's not
that card is insane.
But if he ever becomes popular, you just put 3 of that in your deck, and you automatically like you could be playing red blue and still play 3 of that in your sideboard because like it just makes one of his turns. It's a complete time walk for
right
because your whole
it's already good because of all the blasters getting played. Like it's already playable. So I think that's the thing is like he reminds me of the kid that just like the language he's using. He's like using too many big words, and playing Lando makes my head hurt with all the possibilities with Smuggle. And then pair that with the fact that I think the scanning officer is going to be really good. Like he's a B, and then the context I think hurts him.
Yeah, he doesn't have the support at home.
Yeah, power's there.
All right, let's talk about green. Let's just talk about Jabba, the new leader, because probably covered the other ones pretty heftily. So. Jabba, when he's flipped, he's a 212 for 7. When deployed, another friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit. So you have to have another friendly unit out, which can be a little scary. And then choose a unit for this phase. It gains bounty. The next unit you play this phase costs 2 less. And then his leader ability is that same action. Give a unit a bounty, and then the next unit you play costs 1 less. So he's able to he's self-ramp as long as you can kill him.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm at. I'm like at like a green with him.
Yeah.
With all the green palp, as Matty would know, that he cost 8, and you don't have the built-in ramp. So Jabba is a similar thing, comes out earlier, and if you can do it once along with like a resupply or a command or like super laser attack or something along those lines. Then you're able to like get like you can theoretically play like the Devastator like 2 or 3 turns earlier, or Relentless, or like just a Vader on like turn 5 or 4. I mean, what does that do? So you think about his ability playing a Vader earlier. Vader gets you 2 units, which means that when Jabba flips the next turn, it's gonna be pretty easy to capture and just like steamroll from there. So I think he's pretty good. I would say A-.
Yeah, I agree. A- with the potential to be even better. And then, like, if we're just clocking, in this set, they're straight up reprinting magic cards. If they like evacuate or whatever, if they ever make something that lets you attack for your defense value is the attack value, it's just going to be completely busted. But I love a leader with self-ramp. Like,
what was that guy?
Dryad Arbor, I think. Dryad Arbor?
No, there was like the guy, like he was like the whole deck was called him. He was like a 05.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. 05.
It's not
My
we don't have time for this.
Jabba is like, you have to commit an action to put the bounty. Then you have to get rid of the thing. So it means you need to have something already on the board to deal with it. And then you get the boon. So like, people are going to be able to rush him down pretty quickly. The action economy lines up where like you're never going to have initiative and you're always going to be getting hit before you remove something. So that's my big fear there. I'm going to just give him a straight B. Like, the thing that makes Palp great too is like he pings, he steals, he doesn't need something else out. You have to use that thing, and he draws cards. So like ramp sometimes just runs out. Like ramp just runs out of gas. Like Palp doesn't do that. So Jabba, there's a lot of potential there, but like, yeah.
Well,
the way the action economy works, like I think that like
Doran the Siege Tower.
There it is. The Palp drawing is great, but like I think what Jabba lets you do is like not have to play all that extra ramp. You know, like he's got it built in.
It builds into your list. I still think you're just gonna get whacked in the face a bunch. I think he's gonna have
Kind
a
of cool
harder,
that like
yeah.
him and Han are like both ramping in a weird way. That's kind of
It is cool.
Definitely. All right, Hondo's one I don't think we've talked about. He deploys on 6 when he's on his leader side. When you play a card using Smuggle, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give an experience token to a unit, and he has that on the flip side. When you play a card using Smuggle, give an experience token to it. It's not limited, and then he has Raid 1, so he's a 3/7 that attacks for 4. You know, I've heard some people talking in the Discord. I think George the Hulk mentioned that like he really likes Hondo. Obviously, this thing relies on Smuggle to do anything. But I guess if your whole deck is Smuggle and you're just giving experience tokens for free, like it's a triggered ability, so it's got to be strong. Admittedly, I haven't really built or looked at this just because like there seems to be so many other good ways to take green. But I mean, I guess if the build around is there, I can see this being a B+, kind of A- sort of
This
situation.
is the kid who you assign a 5-page essay and he turns in a 25-page essay. And you're like, I'm not reading that whole thing. And you're like, B? Sounds good. But it certainly could be brilliant inside of there.
I'm not reading this, and you're not going to complain that I gave you a B+.
Fantastic. Exactly. Yeah, I think like I'd have to look at the whole deck and see like, okay, every card would Smuggle. Like, what does that actually look like if you're just actually smuggling to like draw cards, because like your Smuggle gives you a Smuggle and then like you're just steamrolling and like you're replacing and your hand's like always brilliant.
It's just the Smuggle costs are so much that like, what are you doing early? You know, you're not able to trigger this early generally. So, like you really want to be doing it late game, which means like, are you a control deck? I don't know. It just doesn't seem to fit what I want to be doing with getting experience tokens and smuggling cards. So,
he took my class, pass, fail. He passed. If I was in school with him, I would like that. This would be like my pre-calculus class that I took where it was me and these 3 girls. They did all the work in our group projects, and I got to ride their coattails to an A. Someone else go do the work on Hondo, and then let me know how it turns out.
Good call.
God bless. All right, let's talk about Hunter on his leader side. You reveal a resource.
Do we need to?
Yeah, I mean,
Such a cool character, such cool art.
Let's just pretend he's a set 3 leader.
Yeah.
Or are they going to drop 30 fringe or 30 clones right now?
I don't know. Maybe
there's no reason to play him until
there just needs to be like a 1-mana event that says if your leader is Hunter, flip him, and then like he'll be playable.
Yeah.
There's potential there. Like there's the under. You know, like the roots are kind of like it's you know what it is. It's fall. You've just planted the grass. This the roots are taking. Let's look at him next set.
All right.
There's inconclusive evidence. Like there's nothing to play him.
Yeah, he's held back. He failed out. He repeats the grade. But yeah,
not his fault though. He wasn't.
I'm very excited to see how he responds after summer school. That's like my first guy.
It's not his fault. It's like he was out sick all year.
Yeah, he was sick. He had the shits.
All right, let's do Boba Fett. He gives guys +1/+1 when they have keywords. I've seen a lot of people try and make this guy work. He never seems to impress me that much. As good as Ambush is, a lot of the times it doesn't lead to a lot of staying power. Green Hero has a lot of cool cards in the set that have keywords and work really, really well with Boba Fett, but I still see him lose a lot of games when I play against him. So I'm going to give him a B. I'd probably give him a B-, but he's working real hard, and his ability's like always on. It's so easy to make his whole deck work, so I'm going to give him a B+ for the extra effort of like always working.
C+.
A+.
Ambush is good, but like again, like if you look at the context of this game, things are starting to move. Like the faster decks are going faster, the control decks are getting better. Like great, your ambush hits for 1 more. Like I don't really care.
All right. We got 2 more. The pre-release leaders. We've Gideon and the Mandalorian. I've tried to make Gideon work a lot. He doesn't seem to want to get there. I think his ability is just like not good enough. I don't think we want to be playing a bunch of small cost guys. Swarm just isn't it in this game. They haven't figured it out, and it certainly wasn't in this set. So I'm going to give him a C-, though I wish he was better. I think there's room for him to be better. Any Imperial official, I want to be better.
Yeah, I think. I got to run to another Zoom, so I'm just going to do the 2 rankings for this guy. I think Moff Gideon's going to like a C-. Again, just not really seeing it. And just like Mike, you said, like he's sort of like a slightly better Tarkin. And then I think Mando, B to B plus. He's similar to Boba Fett in that like he's maybe a little bit slow and doesn't fit into the meta that well, but the stats are there, like the tapping ability, exhausting things. Like if you're playing into a field of like all aggro and like you're able to just go over the top, like that seems really good. So I'd say that he's definitely one that I'd be looking at playing in constructed Moff Gideon. Not so much exciting video for everyone. That I'm gonna bow out now.
Thanks,
Alright.
Justin.
Later, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna echo the sentiments about Moff Gideon. Just like if I'm swarming, I probably just want to be attacking face with. So I don't really see it. And then Mandalorian is like it's like your favorite student that like deserves a B plus, but you have leeway and you give him an A minus. Like triggered ability, tempo, some cool recursion. He gets to play the best like action economy upgrades in snapshot and blaster, and then with his rifle on his flip turn, it takes 2 actions, but you can take over the board and he can end game finish really hard. The rifle plus a blaster is like what, 9 damage.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
So,
I like.
move this. Yeah,
I
I think he's really good.
I like Mando. I think like, he's another leader that relies on tapping and exhausting units, and if like we can make that work, these like him and Thrawn are gonna really rise. But he gets a lot of cool help by having a whole set full of like Mandalorian bounty hunter stuff. So I think there's a lot of room for him to shine. And I think he's a much better premier leader than Moff Gideon. So I'm gonna give him a B plus.
Nice. Yeah. That's what I think. I triggered abilities that have tempo and are in. He can splash the second color. Like I've been doing blue, but I've seen people try green, and there's like red potential there. I'm sure someone will figure it out. I hope it's us.
Me too. All right, sweet. We made it in 40. We actually made it under 42 minutes, so Justin left a little
it's pretty
early, but
impressive. Yeah.
not bad. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out and doing this video with me.
Peace.
Later.